Well, good morning. Here we are in Aberdeen. Now, don't panic. I did say Aberdeen. There's a bit of a story to all of this. And this is the latest in our Meet the Artist series. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's been a while since there's been one. Well, I've been away travelling in January and February. The gallery's still been open, don't panic, and we haven't closed. But I went away on a long holiday in Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, and I'm back raring to go, but you wouldn't believe it's middle of March and there's snow in Aberdeen. But we are here in what we call the viewing room, which is a new facility which we have in the middle of Aberdeen city centre, and where people can come and view paintings rather than toddle all the way out to Ballater. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm trying to contain my excitement here because you're going to love this, but it's our newest signing, who's one of Scotland's most famous painters, called Colin Fraser. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's great to have you here. And, I'm not going to yabble on, because I'd like you to talk a little bit about it. And it's so exciting, because you've actually come today by a long way around. We won't bother going into all of that, from your home in Sweden. So let me for 2 seconds, say, you were born in Glasgow, I hate to say it, Colin, but in the 1950s. Very late 1950s. You look disgustingly young.
56.
You're 50s? No, okay. We'll not talk about age here. But you were born in Glasgow in the late 50s. How did it all happen? Tell me a little bit about how you ended up in Sweden.
Yeah. Well, I basically met a Swedish girl I was working in Brighton at the time in 1980. Her name was Eva, and that was it.
And going back to Brighton, that was where you studied art in Brighton.
I went to Teachers Training College and studied art. I decided quite early on that the best path for me to make a career out of painting, in my complete ignorance of actually how you did that, was to have some kind of background where you could easily get a teaching job, teach for a little while, a few years, and then go over to painting. And really
you were one of the lucky ones, though. You pretty much, from post-studying, you were pretty much...
I was very driven, and to me there was never any question about whether I would have exhibitions or not. I just did it. I just took it for granted that I would do it.
Were you ambitious?
Stupid, I think, probably is the right word. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we were driven to do the work, and you wanted to show it and get it out there. And
because you were quite young when I've been reading the biographies, where you were having shows in some of the most important galleries in the world, like Eleanor Ettinger in New York, Mira Goddard in Toronto, and what sort of age were you being snapped up by these well-known galleries?
Toronto happened around the end of... There's quite a long story attached to that, which is quite funny, really. I can tell you if you like.
Yeah, do.
My grandparents went to Toronto in the 60s. And as a young child, I remember seeing pictures of Toronto, the tower, and my papa standing next to a Mountie and all of that stuff. And just somehow, in my mind, I thought to myself, I'm going to go there one day. And my Nana's brother, Charlie, lived there. That's why they went. That was the only time they'd ever been outside of Scotland. And it stuck with me. And then one day, fast forward to about 1999, I was getting a monthly magazine at the time called Modern Painters. I just opened it up and I saw an advert for a gallery, Alex Colville, Mira Goddard, Toronto. I had no idea who Alex Colville was, and I had no idea who Mira Goddard Gallery was either. But I just got a feeling.
Because up until then you'd been showing in...
I'd been showing in London.
In London.
Yeah. And I just had a feeling, so I very quickly wrote a handwritten letter, put a catalogue in an envelope, explaining who I was and how this had come about, and I explained that I just had a feeling that this could work. I sent a letter off, and nothing happened for 6 months. 6 months later, I got a letter back from Mira Goddard, handwritten, in the same kind of tone that I'd written, which was a bit sort of jokey, and she said, I'd never take on an artist like this, and we're not interested in adding any artists to our stable. You're across the other side of the world, why would I do this? And then at the end of it, she said, but there was always a first time.
I mean,
So-
but in fairness, I mean, Mira Goddard, world-renowned gallery, you had already been showing at Cato,
Yes,
and Cato's highly established
Yes.
London gallery based in Hampstead, from memory.
Yes.
And you'd been there a long time.
yeah, I had my first show there in I started showing there in 92.
Yeah. Well, it's quite incredible, because really you were showing in these big-name galleries in your mid-30s,
Yes.
really, so it was all pretty rapid. So let's just... It's been quite a story so far. What I really wonder about, going right back, Colin, to you were the little boy in Hamilton, I think, and then you moved to Surrey when you were at primary school.
7, yeah.
7. Was there an obvious talent for art back then?
I did start doing a lot of drawing at a very young age, and I was 5 or 6. So I had an elder sister who was 4 years older than me, and she started playing around with paints, and probably around 7 or 8, I took up the paints, and that was it.
Your dad was an engineer, wasn't he?
He was an electrical engineer, yes.
Good with his hands. I mean, did he have any ability?
No, there was nothing in the family whatsoever. So where it came from, I don't really know. But
And then secondary school, is that where it started showing?
yeah, I was always in the art room and doing painting, and my paintings were always up in the.
I'm only people love to know the story. Is it something that's been born in them? And you're now world renowned as one of the greatest painters who uses egg tempera. So how did that come about? Because people reading. I'm looking at an incredible magazine here that's actually got the painting we're going to talk about shortly. And it's all about you, and of course it's mentioning the egg tempera. Were you painting in oils for a long time and then changed?
Yeah, I was. Oil would have been my primary material until I moved to Sweden, in fact. And then living in a small apartment, that made it quite difficult for practical reasons to use oils. And then I started working a lot in watercolours and body colour or gouache. And then I had my first picture accepted at the RA Summer Exhibition in 1983, which was a large watercolour. And then...
Just go back to that point a little bit, Colin, because I love the Royal Academy Summer Show. I've always wanted to be invited to that opening night. So when was that?
1983 was the first one, and at which point I'd been in Sweden for 2 years.
And what was the painting like that you submitted?
It was a large, it was a picture of Glen Coe, or the River Coe. It was called After the Rain. And
so it wasn't really, I suppose, like what you're famous for now?
Not really. I think that you probably could see similarities, but I went through a period where I did a lot of watercolour. Not particularly big pieces, but this was quite a big piece, as I remember, anyway. And then the tempera thing came as something I'd been reading about. You can't actually go on a course and learn something like egg tempera. I actually don't believe you can learn to paint by going on any courses. I think it's something you learn yourself, and you learn through the need to express something.
Just, if we can, we've actually got a little treat for you after this video. We're going to actually show Colin making a couple of little adjustments to one of the paintings behind us using the egg tempera. But just very basically explain to somebody, a layman like me, what egg tempera really is.
Well, I think if you're going to do that, you need to explain what paint is. Paint is basically pigment, which is the colour, but not actually paint, which is usually in powdered form, and then you have some kind of binder or glue, and then you have a medium. In the case of egg tempera, the same pigments are used as they would be used in oil paint or watercolours or whatever. The glue or the binder or the tempera actually means binder. The tempera is egg yolk, which is a very old method that was used as far back as the Egyptians, and was used in pre-Renaissance in paintings as underpainting. A lot of the icons are painted in egg tempera.
Are they? They're not varnished or anything.
No, and the fantastic thing about it is we know that it is the most permanent material, as tempera's not affected by light, so you can hang a painting in direct sunlight. It doesn't pale or,
It's good. Talk about these paintings, would you call them, because they're so beautiful here. I don't know if I really need to move. I'm probably better not to move. But the one behind you, and they've almost got this informal approach in the black, almost like the feel of a blackboard in a way. And it's deliberate. It gives a feeling of some sort of naturalness against the really botanical way in which you paint.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite a fast painter and a very expressive painter. So if you were to watch me painting, it's the kind of body language that you'd be seeing wouldn't be sort of this, which is what people think. It's actually a lot more, quite quick, big brushes.
So that painting here, the painting right behind us,
yes,
which is glorious with the way the sun is going through the shirt, looking out the window. To me, that painting looks as if you could have gone backwards and forwards for months.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, something like that, the life or the feel of the air and the space, because that's really what that picture's all about, is you can't just, you're working in an illustrative way, doing a drawing of it that looks good, and then, just painting it. That's not going to get the feel of the thing that you're after. The feel comes from what you're expressing, and the expression comes from how you work and how you investigate the space. So painting a picture like that, if you're closed in your process, so if you have a process where you normally work A, B, C, D, and then the next painting you do the same thing, what you're actually seeing in a painting is process, but I don't actually work in that way. My paintings kind of grow organically.
Totally fascinating. And I am right in thinking, Colin, that the subjects in the paintings all mean something to you?
Yes, absolutely.
So that jug, the cup, that window, I mean, can I ask, where is the window?
Well, that is not a specific window. Well, the window and the view and the chair have never actually been in those places at any one time.
Really?
So they're different fragments.
An amalgamation.
They're they're fragments of things that I've stuck in my mind and that have been put together in different places. And I mean, the idea of it meaning something to you is about the commitment.
Quite a bit of romance in your head, I think, as well, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a little bit like you need to feel excited about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So in order to feel that excitement, it has to remind you of something you've done before or something you've experienced. Because when you do a painting like that, you're actually going into a room when you're in the act of painting, and you may be spending lots and lots and lots of time in that room. So if it doesn't mean anything to you, you're not motivated in the same way.
A word when I've mentioned to some friends in London who are aware of your work, and I'm cock-a-hoop because we're going to be your only gallery in Scotland. I'm seriously thrilled about this. And when I was on the phone to somebody in London who's bought your work before, I said, "What is it you love about a Fraser?" And they said, I'm thinking the word, would they be wrong? It was the luminescence.
Luminosity.
Luminosity,
yes.
Right. So is that what we're talking about when you look at the painting behind me? I won't move too much. The way that you've managed to get the light coming through the bowl of lemons.
Yes, I mean, egg tempera that's one of the special qualities of the tempera is the luminosity. With luminosity, I don't mean, say, just the light areas or the reds or the yellows which are luminous or glow. All of the areas of a tempera glow. So even the black areas have this spacious feel about it, that it's not flat. And if you look at the black areas in these pictures, you'll see that they're actually, this is my black air series, if you like, because these...
Black air?
Black air.
Oh, black air.
As in air, because what you're actually painting is the air, the space around the objects. So the black is not necessarily behind the objects like a background. I don't really like the word background. It's just as much in front as it is behind. So if you look at, say, the lemons and ask the question, can you go behind it? Then hopefully you can.
I think, well, the luminosity is incredible. Is that luminosity the same thing in this painting? When you're looking at the apples, sorry, my ignorance, I don't even know what type of flowers these are. Are they a tulip?
They're peony roses, I think they're called.
All right. Well, so is that also where we're talking about the luminosity that develops into the clarity?
The clarity comes from, again, from the technique, because tempera is a very linear technique. It's very fast drying. You make a mark and it stays where you put it. Now that creates lots of technical difficulties. So you can't just, put marks on anywhere and think, well, I'll change that later, because every mark you put onto the picture surface shows.
I think, genuinely think these paintings are stunning. They're the two still lifes. They're cracking pictures. They're both about 17,000 each, and the one with the window, I think, is about £13,000 each. And what I'm also really admiring also, Colin, is you've gone for off-white frames, because it would have been so easy to go black. And they really do work, and they are telling a story, although they're a still life with it. So we have to round up a little bit here. It's been fascinating talking. I would like to throw a couple of quick questions at Colin before we finish. So, Scottish artists, Colin, not necessarily Scottish artists, but that's what we concentrate on, not totally. Money no object, living artists at the moment, who would you go out and buy? Who do you like?
Well, I have a very quick, easy answer to that one, actually, and it's going to surprise you. Do you know an artist called Gail Harvey?
Yes.
I mean, I love her work. I think she's a brilliant artist, and although it's probably not apparent, there's quite a lot of similarity. Her palette is fantastic, I think, and I saw her art. I just happened to walk into one of her shows in Bath about maybe 20 years ago, and I was so close to buying a picture and didn't buy it, and I've regretted it ever since. The old story.
Well, do you know, that wasn't an answer I expected. Another quick question, not that there's anything wrong with Gail Howard, it's just I was expecting some other names, but you're coming to an age, so am I, where people retire. What are your ambitions? What are your plans? Do you plan to slow down, or do you plan on painting always?
I'm always going to carry on painting.
Well, I'm glad.
I can't slow down. It's something. It's a force you've got inside you that just means that you got to keep on doing it. And I think I'm probably more ambitious than ever. You want to carry on developing what you're doing. It becomes clearer to you why you do the things you do, and hopefully you can hone the technical side of it is not something I need to think about or work on anymore, but the expressive side of it is something I've become more and more aware of. And these days it feels like when you sit down and doing the work, it's as if the work is kind of breaking out from underneath the surface of the painting. So you're just...
Well, do you know, Colin Fraser, let's not give our mailing list and the people that are watching us, let's not give them too many more secrets of your incredible work. But all I can say is we have 3 stunning new paintings at the Ballater Gallery. They're going to be moving from Aberdeen this week. And I think you'll all agree that they're breathtaking. And I can't thank Colin Fraser enough for coming from Sweden to deepest, coldest, snowiest Aberdeen. And I hope you're not cold from here. But thank you very much, Colin, for coming.
Thank you.